Let it Let it
All righty. Good evening. All right, I see you coming in. I see you all coming in. Like and share. Thank you. Like and share. Good evening. I want to give a shout out to those who just are so much enjoying Detox that they were making their own little, I don't know what to say, digital media, graphic images, short videos, something. And I want to thank Ashley. Some of y'all have seen what I've posted, just short versions of something that was said, maybe a very profound statement, or a statement that's a good takeaway, or a statement that's causes you to think. And Ashley would take the video and just break it down to a small portion, put a comment over it, and send it to me so that I can put it on Instagram or Facebook. I want to thank her for that. And today, Aisha Allen Pastel is on here tonight. She's been with us every night, if I'm correct. And she made such a nice one today. And it was it made me think so millennial. It was so millennial minded, which she is, I believe. And she made a statement over a clip of the video that said, what we treasure should have evidence, AKA receipts. You know, that's a millennial term. Everybody wants receipts. I got receipts. So I want to thank these beautiful young people, these millennials who are enjoying this teaching and the enrichment that they're getting from their life, and that they're just taking little excerpts and making little statements and stuff that appeal to them that will also appeal to other people. So I want to thank y'all for just taking this work and making it go that way. Thank y'all so much. I really do appreciate it. And I love ya. Welcome. Good evening. Good to see you all here this evening. I'll start out with the business at hand, and then we're going to jump right into our lesson, because I started going over last night, you know, kind of like the timeline to make sure that I end it with the right information to end it. And I just got so excited over what's to come that I'm ready to go. I almost came on this morning. I was ready to go. So again, welcome to Detox 2022 for day 11. We're almost halfway there. Can y'all believe it? We're almost at day 15. We're 4 days away from day 15, which is the halfway point. So welcome. I want to thank Brittany for her Cash App, and Elitza and Chevelle for Cash Apping. Thank you so much. Anna for her daily Cash App. Ashley for her daily Cash App. I want to thank Diane, Dominique, Candy, Kim, Gwyneth Douglas Butterfly, and Ebony Rose for their Cash App. Doesn't matter the amount. It's not really the seed. The seed will always bring forth its fruit. So I want to thank all of you. Some of you said, I know it's not a lot. It's not about the seed. First of all, I didn't ask for it. So you're given out of your own heart, and it shall be returned to you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over shall men give unto your bosom. I decree and declare that over your life today. So it doesn't matter the amount. First of all, it came from your heart. And second of all, it is God that will cause the increase. So I speak and release increase to each and every one of us in all the different areas that we need it, in our physical body, in our soul, that encompasses and covers so much, in our relationships, in our wealth. I speak and release that over your life. So thank you all. And I do have a name today. I did my homework. And for our latest YouTube subscriber, I want to thank Ruth. And I'm going to say Erigene. Sorry if I mispronounce your name, but at least I pronounced it in syllables where it's really how you spell your name. Thank you so much, Ruth, for subscribing. We appreciate you. We love you for helping us to do this work. Everything helps. The likes help, the subscriptions help, the sharing helps, the contributions help. Thank you all for all that you're doing. Good evening to everyone. Make it into a mango shake. I know that's right. We went out to dinner that other night. I forget where we went. Oh, no, we went to brunch on Sunday after church, and Max Fish has these little smoothies that they give you, and it was a mango smoothie, and God, it was so good. I'm not sure what they mixed it with. I should have asked, but man, it was good. I want to thank CW Charlene Dozer for her Cash App that just came through. Thank you very much, dear. You know that I love you, and I thank you for your kind giving. All righty, we've got work to do. I want to start out by saying this. The road to self-awareness is a journey. The road to self-awareness is a journey. So welcome to your journey. There's an area that I want to deal with tonight that actually comes before we were dealing with the word exchange from being nice to kind. And these were the habits that I want you to develop. I want you to take this lesson in and eat the whole loaf and digest it. And as it becomes nutrients for your body, I want you to establish these habits. And the first one that I want to talk about tonight is active listening. Active listening. This is a habit that I want you to gain. Someone tell me, please, what is another word for habits? What is a habit? What is a habit? That's right, active listening. I see it coming up. There you go, Candy. Habits are behaviors. We just make a nicer or a name that takes away maybe some of the pressure to believe that our habits are actually our behaviors. They're just something that we do consistently every day, usually for a long amount of time. They are behaviors. That is correct. So with that, they practice active listening. This is very important as you go from doing self-awareness to becoming self-aware, to being self-aware. One of the practices that I want you to take a habit of, take a hold of, and make it a part of your self is active listening. Let me tell you about active listening. Because what we have coming down the road, we're going to deal with self-awareness and how it causes you to succeed. We're going to talk about self-awareness and communication. We're going to go over signs to show that you may lack self-awareness and actually where you're lacking it at. We're going to go over that. We got a lot to do yet. We're going to talk about why most people lack self-awareness. What is the blocks? What's the mountains? What's the hindrances? What is it that we need to bridge together so we don't have to lack self-awareness? We're going to talk about ways to know that you have grown in your self-awareness. And we're going to talk about, before we close up all of this, how to improve in self-awareness. So I'm going to leave you with a prescription. Some instructions is the prescription, and how to improve your life, how to improve specifically in self-awareness. So the reality is that when most of us listen to someone, we are thinking about our reply before the other individual actually finishes talking. How many of y'all going to go ahead and confess to that tonight? Come on, babies. It's okay. Come on. It's all right. Come on and get free. A behavior, a habit that I want you to pick up is called active listening. The reality is that when most of us listen to someone, we are thinking about our reply before the individual finishes speaking. Or worse, there's something that we're just so itching to say that we completely interrupt the person. Isn't that interesting? We completely interrupt the person because we're so itching to say it. That is so me right there. And that's a behavior that I'm really working on. We can't possibly build self-awareness if we don't take an interest in what others have to say. I failed early this morning on that. Well, guess what? We brought it right back around for you tonight. That was early in the morning. This is the last thing before you go to bed tonight you're going to work on. There is no way we can possibly build self-awareness if we don't take an interest in what others have to say. We can't build self-awareness if we don't practice active listening. Remember, self-awareness is just not internal. It is also external. So we have to practice active listening. We cannot build self-awareness if we don't take an interest in what others have to say. I like that. I'm going to post that. When my students do that, I say, excuse me, you're stepping on my words. I got to use that one. We like that one. Someone said I failed that just a few minutes ago. Guilty. That's right. So we're really truly going to go from doing self-awareness to being self-awareness. We have to add to our journal list what I have to improve on or start working on in 2022 is active listening. I need to create a habit, a behavior of active listening. We cannot build self-awareness. We cannot be self-aware if we don't practice active listening. It's an essential skill to cultivate for this and for many other reasons. We should want to cultivate active listening. Why? Because it helps us to empathize, understand, obtain information, learn, and enjoy ourselves in relation to other people. Let me tell you something. Active listening means to concentrate, understand, respond, and then remember what is being said. Anybody else exhausted right there already? And you thought all you had to do was just listen to the first 4 words. Or if you're a woman, you only need to listen to 2 or 3 words and you pretty much know what they're going to say, right? Shame on us, because that's how we act. And then if we're prophetic people, well, I'm prophetic, so I already know what you're going to say. All the things we use to show We are not empathetic. We are not active listening. I don't care how female, how discerning, or how prophetic you may be. We cannot do that. We have to cultivate active listening. Why? Because it helps us to empathize. Who's going to write that out for me? Understand, obtain information, learn, and enjoy ourselves. Active listening means to concentrate. It means to understand. It means to respond. And then remember what is being said. That's a lot. That's a lot of work. Did you know that communication had that much work in it? How much of this process of work, if you will, are you actually applying to your behavior, your new habit of active listening? Active listening means to concentrate, understand, respond, and then remember. Concentrate on what they're saying. Understand. Give empathy. You don't have to agree. You don't even have to like it. But you understand. You empathize. Then respond. And then remember what is being said. Let's look at one of these. Concentrate. Concentrate. You must direct and hold your attention to what's being said. Concentrate. Thank you, Nanita. I'm going to post your comment. Concentrate. In our 4 steps, 4 behaviors that we want to create. This is the dynamics to active communication. The 4 components, the 4 dynamic steps that are included in active communication is concentrate, understand, respond, and then remember. What does it mean to concentrate? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to tell you. Concentrate means you must direct and hold your attention to what's being said. How are y'all even doing that on here with me being online versus me being in a pulpit or versus me being across from the table with you or in a Zoom conference with you or a FaceTime with you? How do you respond even in a scenario like this where it's just a video playing? I don't know whether you're walked away, because I heard last night about 3 of you confessed to me today that you had to do everything you can within you to stay with me last night because y'all were done with me last night. We're done. That a lot of the teaching had caught up with you on last night and you did everything you can to hang in there on last night. Anybody else feeling that way? Let's do a little check-in real quick. And then we'll continue talking about concentrate. What does it mean to concentrate? To direct and hold your attention to what's being said. Good. It helps you to stay focused because the information is interesting. That's how it works for me. I was driving. I'm still here. Hands are up. Last night was good. Okay, well, a few people were like, the anxiety, and I don't think it was so much last night, but I just think just applying the work, they started to get a little overwhelmed. So remember, we're here for you. I was able to get to, I know one person directly myself. I had clients all day today, up until 7 o'clock. And then I drove home and got a little bit of food down and jumped on here. Okay, good. I'm glad y'all here. I see the hands going up. So if we're talking to one another, I need you to concentrate. And you need me to concentrate. We deserve that in active listening, in communication. Concentrate. To direct and hold your attention to what's being said. To direct and hold. You ever see the choirs? Oh, they got to hold. They cannot release the next note. Hold. So you can't interject. You can't cut in. I'm going to get this for 2022. I'm going to get this habit and I'm going to create this behavior in my life. That was for me. That wasn't for y'all. Concentrate. You must direct and hold your attention to what's being said. Understand. Step number 2. Understand. If you concentrated well through the conversation, you should have a good understanding of it. I'm with you, Corindus. I'm really going to work to apply that. Sometimes I know that I have this, I don't know if I want to call it a nervousness, but just online with y'all tonight, I'll call it a nervousness. But I have this way of, I get antsy, and then sometimes my memory plays little tricks on me. So I often write things down. If you see me, I'm often writing things down. People think I'm texting sometimes, but sometimes I'm taking notes. There's thoughts in my head or something that was said because I'm going to be so afraid that I'm going to lose what you said that I have to go ahead and write it down. So if you concentrated well enough through the conversation, you should have a good understanding of it. However, you may still have questions. If so, ask them. Ask the questions. Don't jump into conclusions. Ask the question. And then the next component is to respond. The third component of active listening. Respond. If you followed the concentrate and understand method, these elements, you are well equipped to respond. So some of us aren't even equipped enough to respond. Do y'all get that? Do y'all get that? Imagine having a conversation with someone and you know that they haven't been concentrating, they haven't been understanding, they just want to skip to response, right? Look what we have a right to say. You do not have the elements, so you are not well equipped to respond to even what I'm saying. What do you mean I don't have the elements? You are not concentrating on what I'm saying. Yes, I am. No, you can parrot word for word back what I said, but you didn't hear me. So if you feel like someone has not fairly concentrated and concentrated to understand what you're saying, there is no response. So what our response is, you are not well equipped to respond to what I just said to you. Yes, Tasha, I got to drop the mic too. I am sorry, but I am not well equipped to respond to this conversation. And we are not well equipped because we have not concentrated or understood. Remember, empathy. You don't even have to understand that they're teaching you. Let's just do something ridiculous. They're teaching you a math application, and you don't understand the math application, but you can empathize with what they're getting across to you regarding the application of math. You don't have to understand what they say to understand here. It just means to give empathy, to show that I listen to you. So you may end up having another question still. So if you followed the concentrate and understand elements, you are now well equipped to understand. If you follow the concentrate and understand, or let's do it this way, concentrate to understand elements of active listening, you are well equipped to respond. Well, thank God we learned the difference between nice and kind, because a lot of people are not going to be called nice when you make statements like this. I'm sorry. I've sat here. I tried to pour my heart out to you. I tried to make you understand something that I want to do. I just wanted your input on something. I just wanted you to listen to something and not even give me any advice. But it is obvious you are not well equipped to respond. You didn't have active listening at all. There was no concentration, and there was no concentration to understand, to empathize with what I was even trying to say. Concentrate, Ashley. How do we get our minds to stop wandering during conversation? Concentrate. You have to concentrate. Remember we talked the night before? Discipline, how important discipline is. You have to operate, because I could easily just throw out to you, well, you might have ADD and it's harder to struggle to concentrate in any kind of comprehension, classroom activities, a movie. It's very hard for you. But before we throw that out, why don't we use some truth that sets us free? Why don't we use some discipline? Because any type of behavior that you're having or habit that you want to change, the way to do that is by applying disciplines. So you're going to have to apply the discipline of concentrating a little harder or a lot harder than the average person, because you have trouble with concentration. I'm laughing at these comments. Men listen to understand. Ooh, he gonna make this a whole different thing. This line gonna start some trouble. Yes, it is. But just imagine. Do you have enough information and understanding to even respond to what I'm talking about? Okay, the last part of this, remember, we started out fast tonight. It's just 8:30 and we're already dropping mics and bombs going across the screen. Thank God we know the difference between nice and kind, because a lot of y'all ain't going to be called nice now. But we'll be kind. Yep, you are not even equipped enough to have a response, because you didn't apply the elements to active listening. You couldn't even give me your attention for 5 minutes. I sat here. I can repeat back everything you just said. You did not concentrate on one thing. You grabbed one part of my sentence. I said 22 words and you only grabbed one word out of my 22-word statement, and you gave me no empathy for the rest. You're not equipped to respond to this conversation. Ooh, go ahead, Prophet Erica. Merciful and kind. All right. Now, the last component, remember, concentrate, understand, respond, remember. If you've engaged wholly in active listening throughout the conversation, recall or recollection shouldn't be too much trouble. For you to remember, it shouldn't be too much trouble. If your mind was somewhere else, then you're not equipped to respond to this conversation, because you couldn't even concentrate enough to remember to respond. There's no way. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot what you just said, but what I remember about that was, and they begin to tell you what they remember about what they wanted to say, but they could not remember what it is you just said. Y'all have those elements? This is what I want you, before you go out and being a stickler to other people, I need you to create this habit first in yourself and change your behavior towards a self-aware individual. Self-aware people understand that the seeds they hear become the fruits in their soul. So I need to be clear at what I'm hearing. So it is important for me to concentrate when you're talking on the conversation, understand with empathy what you're feeling or what you're asking me, or what emotion you want me to hear from you, and then be equipped enough to respond and smart enough, well enough to remember. If you've concentrated enough on that conversation in active listening, then recollection of the conversation shouldn't be too hard for you. What else I want you to do? What's a behavior I want you to get? I want you to stay curious about how you and your mind works. Your soul. Your soul is the self, the seat of who you are. It's your emotions. It's your appetite. It's your lust. It's your desire. It's your will. It's your thoughts. It's your emotions. It's your patterns and behaviors. It's the self of who you are. I want you to stay curious about yourself and how your mind works. Because when you are self-aware, it requires you to pay attention to what's going on between your two ears. What's between your two ears? That's right. That's a good statement. Y'all could post tonight. The seeds I hear become fruit for my soul. That's right. It becomes fruit for our soul. So it's important for us to stay attentive to what's going on between our ears. See, we spend so much time and attention focusing on what we hear, but we're not paying attention to what's going on between these ears. There's a whole lot going on between these ears. Your brain, your mind, that's right. We must understand how our brains work. We must understand that everything doesn't have to be so hard. When we change our belief, we can change the emotions that were attached to it. Therefore, our thoughts will change, and therefore our behaviors will change. Our addictions will change. Our attitudes will change. Our lack of self-love for ourselves will change. We will get out of certain situations and relationships and dead-end jobs, for example. Take advantage of going back to school because we have better beliefs about ourselves. Pay attention to what's going on between your ears and not so much of what's all this talk around you. That's distractions. Self-awareness requires you to get the habit of paying attention to what goes on between your ears. We do have to understand how our brains work. It is important to know that by seeing certain things, the brain, the retina, it sends messages to the hippocampus that tells the rest of your brains, do we go into fight or flight? Are we stressed? Do we release cortisol? Are we depressed? Do we try to release some dopamine to fight the depression that we're feeling? It comes in through the eye gates and the ear gates. And you need to know a little bit about the psychology. That's why you're on here these 30 days. And I need you to be with me all year for the rest of your life or my life, if you're willing to commit to it. Read certain magazines, stay up on certain articles. It is important to understand the power of what's between your ears. But even more important than that, if you're going to gain this doing and become a person who is self-aware, you need to know, more importantly, the inner workings of your mind. Where did that thought come from? What's the belief that's attached to that thought? When you begin to work this behavior and make this a part of who you are, you know how you act and how you react. You will know your strengths and your weaknesses. This is a quintessential function of self-awareness. This is a quintessential function of self-awareness. It is a soul. It is an inner working. It's an inner function. It's the soul function of self-awareness. To know your strength as well as your weaknesses. To know how you act and how you react. How do you do this? I'm glad Joycey asked. First, you must be completely honest with yourself. I think that's been a pattern that I've been saying every night. You have to be completely honest with yourself. Your ego has an entrenched and often subtle defense mechanism that requires bypassing. See, I'm teaching you a little bit about the brain now. In general, the brain. You must be completely honest with yourself. Is there anyone in here that's ready to be honest with themselves? Some of y'all saying, I've been so honest with myself, I'm sick. I spoke to some beautiful young woman today, a client of mine, and she shared how she went and ordered a seafood boil and was sucking down her crab and her butter dripping all over it. And before the end of our soul detox session, and now she and I one-on-one, our 30 days, she threw her whole boil up. She said, I wasted $80 on that boil. Because what you were talking about, see, sometimes we don't understand this information can be new for someone. Some of y'all who've been with me for years, some of this you might have heard before, or your system is not so blown away when you've heard some things. Some of these things maybe you've heard somewhere else before, but everyone's not at that same level. And some of us are at a level where this is the first time we're actually spending any attention or any time on ourselves. For others, there's this medium grade where you're like, ooh, I'm feeling the queasiness, I'm feeling the angst, I'm feeling the attitude, I'm feeling a little anger. I don't think I want to be on tonight with Apostle. This is just too deep for me. And I respect each experience. We can't negate the experience. So someone told me last night they were ready to just hang up. They had had enough with me. Someone else said they were vomiting and lost their whole boil, their meal the other night. So while we're on here, understand that some people are having manifestations. They're being triggered in their physical body. We talked about that last night. But we have to remember it is important. No matter what I do, no matter where I am at in the experience process, it is important for me to stay completely honest with myself. I cannot go back into denial after these 30 days. I cannot avoid doing these assessments because I'm afraid to be honest with myself. I'm afraid what I won't hear. Your ego has an entrenched and often subtle defense mechanism that requires bypassing. You hear the ego? We accomplish this by objectively observing others. Here's a basic framework for mind investigation. Here's the basic framework for mind investigation. I'll try to put this over here for us, because y'all ain't going to be able to write it down that quick. Here's the basic framework for mind investigation. What are my predominant mental and emotional states? Predominant, predisposing, the ones that I kind of fall to first. And which ones are positive and negative? How do I feel when I accomplish something? Let me post this. Look like it's 2 lines. How do I feel when accomplishing something? How can I get into that state of mind, the state of mind of accomplishing something? What things do I do that makes me feel better? What things do I do that make me feel better? How about worse? How can I get into those states of mind where I feel better? How can I get into those states of mind where I feel better? So what I'm asking you here is how the basic framework for mind investigation is determining how to think better about ourselves. What are the things that I do that make me feel worse? What are the things that I do that make me feel better? And do the things that make you feel better. How can I get into these states of mind where I feel better and try to live out a greater percentage of my day, of my life, in the feel better states of mind versus the others? What are my predominant mental and emotional states? What is it that you fall to first? Which ones are positive and which ones are negative? My predominant mental and emotional states. Sad and generally melancholy. And I find nothing positive in any of them, so it tends to be more negative. So what can I do to wake up in the morning to be more positive from the moment I wake up? Can I have Alexa speak an affirmation to me every morning? Can I have Siri set up when my alarm goes off to speak an affirmation to me every morning? The feeling that I want you to have more of in your life is the feeling you have when you accomplish something that brings you joy, that makes you feel more in control of life and situations. You can't live there, but you can definitely be there. What things do I do that make me feel better? Do you even know the things you do that make you feel better? And do you tend to do those more? Or do you find yourself doing things that make you feel worse? Well, of course, because adulting is all about doing things you don't want to do. So, of course, I have to do the things that make me feel worse. But how much do you interject into your day to do the things that make you feel better? Even if it's one thing: walking, praying, reading, taking a bath. Go the extra mile. Take a bath with your candles and get back to yourself. Take introspection time. What is it that I can do that can get me into the better states of my mind more often than what I've been doing this far? Are y'all hearing me? That's good, Kamisha. You can determine the destination of your mind. You can determine the destination of your mind. You change the channel. We've talked about, that's a term I've been using with you. Change the channel. Do not feel guilty because you refuse to feel sad about something that you refuse to feel sad about that day. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to give up this time today. I'm not losing this hour today. I'm not going to lose this day that I may never get again, that I will never get again. And it could possibly be my last day. I'm not going to let this day be lost because I feel that I need to mourn this, or I need to be broken in this, or I need to be sadness about this. I'm going to feel this thing. I'm going to honor that it's there. I'm going to acknowledge that it's there. And I'm going to honor myself by allowing myself to confess that this is how I'm feeling about this situation. But I refuse to stay that way longer than an hour, longer than 15 minutes. It's not robbing me of my day. I'm not doing it. I'm going to learn now to tap into things that make me feel better about myself, that make me feel better about certain situations. I can actually choose to walk out life in those better states of mind than the other. So what are my predominant mental and emotional states? You need to know that, because that's what you have to conquer. You cannot conquer what you won't confront. If you choose not to confront these things that are coming up right now in your mind, as I say these words, issues and events and stories and feelings and thoughts are coming up right now to you. You can choose to determine the destination of your mind, but you cannot conquer it if you're not going to allow us to confront it. What things do I do that make me feel better, and how can I find myself doing them more? How can I find myself doing them more? That's heavy. Another habit I want you to pick up. They know more about their thoughts, paying attention to what's between their ears more than the gossip and the conversations that are going on around them. That's doing what for you? I read a quote a year ago, maybe about 3 years ago now, because we've been in COVID for 2 years. What people have to say about me is none of my business. If people are not bold enough to come to you, letting someone bring you gossip about them, about you, what people have to say about me is none of my business. That's none of your business. One of the golden rules that I remember Beyonce spoke out in a video that Oprah had passed down to her. She told Beyonce early on, do not read the comments. Do not read the post section. Do not read the comment section. And she was like, but I use it to get better. She said, you will never get better. The person who don't like your dress, another person loved your dress. The person who didn't like your hair, another person liked your hair. Another person that said that you were worshiping some demon, another person is saying how much you love God. Do not read the comments. Stay out of the comments section. What people have to say about you is none of your business. They said it about you, not to you. That's none of your business. You are the one who are experiencing your thoughts. You can change the channel. You can choose a different thought. I know you might say that's crazy. It's true. And you will hear this in any therapy office. You're the one who hears them. You're the one who can control them. That means you are not required to do whatever your thoughts wish for you to do. You do not have to obey every thought that comes through your mind. They are not in charge of you. You are. The real you is in charge. You're not emotionally driven. We need receipts before I go out and run out on these thoughts and feelings. There's a quote from Michael A. Singer. He's an author. Michael A. Singer. And he authored the book called The Surrender Experiment and the Untethered Soul. The Surrender Experiment and the Untethered Soul. And this was his quote. The day you decide you are more interested in being aware of your thoughts than you are in the thoughts themselves and in the thoughts of others, this is the day you will find your way out. This is the day you will find your way out. Let me read it again. The day you decide you are more interested in being aware of your thoughts, I'm going to go ahead and post it so when y'all replay it, you can get it. Absolutely. Obey the rules of your church. Cheryl, we got replay. We're here. The day you decide you are more interested in being aware of your thoughts than you are in the thoughts themselves, that is the day you will find your way out. Another habit, a behavior I want you to take on this year. Know that you are more than your feelings. Know that you are more than your feelings. Same thing as being more aware of your thoughts. Your feelings aren't there to tell you how to act. And they're not there to tell you whether or not to act at all. They are there to tell you what's important to you. Let me post this up here too, so when y'all replay it, you can get this one. That's right. A behavior I want you to take on this year. And this is not a conversation for other people. This is a conversation for yourself. That I am more than my thoughts and my feelings. Your feelings aren't there to tell you how to act. How dare your feelings dictate how you respond? And they're not there to tell you whether or not to act at all. They are there to tell you what's important to you. I have a quote from Viktor Frankl, author of Man's Search for Meaning. I hope you hear me, Reverend Pastor Ron. Viktor Frankl, author of Man's Search for Meaning. And he says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Woo, woo. You need to hashtag that one on your social media platforms tonight. There is a space. Hey. And in that space You can choose your response. Between the stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is your power to choose your response. I want you to carry this out when we finish with 2022 So Detox. All of these that I'm giving you tonight. And this one, certainly and especially. I want you to never waste a perfectly good mistake. I want you to never waste a perfectly good mistake. Perfectly good and mistake? Is this an oxymoron? What kind of conversation are we having tonight? There are two people who are the entrepreneurs behind one of the biggest wine brands in the world. And the wine brand is called Barefoot Wine. And his name is Michael Houlihan, or her name is Bonnie Harvey. They say that there's no excuse for wasting a perfectly good mistake because every mistake is beautiful. After all, now you got the opportunity to never make the same mistake again. Someone say now. See, before you didn't. Now you have the opportunity to never make the same mistake again. Don't ever waste a perfectly good mistake. That's our mantra going forward. I might have to put that on a t-shirt. Now, starting now, I will never waste a perfectly good mistake. What does that mean? That means as of this moment now, I have an opportunity to never make that same mistake again. Can somebody clap their hands? That's what I want you to take away this year with you. Never waste a perfectly good mistake. Don't beat yourself down. Don't convict yourself. Don't be in condemnation. Don't let your emotions and your feelings kick in and tell you how to act and how to respond. Now, you now have been given something. Now you have been strengthened something. Now you have a reward system that you have been given an opportunity to never make the same mistake again. Never making the same mistake again is real self-awareness. It's not about avoiding mistakes. Come on, perfectionists. I got something for y'all coming up too. It's not about avoiding mistakes. It's about learning from your mistakes. Otherwise, you just keep going through the mistakes over and over again. You have been given an opportunity to never make the same mistake again. That is true self-awareness. It's another one of those things that I can hear people saying, that's hard though. That's hard though. It's hard to admit to your own mistakes. It's hard to admit to your own mistakes, but it's not hard to make a mistake. Because what's the alternative? Making the same mistake over and over and over, never moving forward and never becoming who you know you could be? That's hard to me. Come on. Come on. That's hard to operate in never wasting a mistake again. That's hard. It's hard. Is it hard for you to admit and own your mistakes? What is it that makes it so hard for you to admit and own your mistakes? And I don't want to hear about your childhood. I don't want to hear how you were the black sheep, how they dogged you out and they beat you down. You've got life now. You're adulting now. And it is harder for you not to learn a lesson than it is harder for you to admit and own a mistake. Come on, Ishay. Because what's the alternative to not owning your mistakes? Making the same mistake over and over and over again, never moving forward in your life and never becoming who you could be. That's hard. And I think you will agree with me tonight. Doesn't that sound easier? Okay, we're coming around the mountain. Let me hit us with this one. A behavior I want you to work on for this year. I want you to make a habit of this so that it becomes a behavior. Self-aware people know that they are allowed to put themselves first. Self-aware people know that they are allowed to put themselves first. If I asked you to write a list for me of all of the important people in your life, would you write your own name down? Would that have been automatic for you? Or would you have skipped it because you wanted to be humble? Or would you have skipped it because I didn't know I could write my own name down? It should be automatic for you. If I asked you to write a list of all the important people in your life, would you have written your own name down? If so, where would your name be numbered on that list? Right at the top, in the middle, or at the bottom? Another lesson. When you put other people above yourself is when you have lived by their expectations instead of your own. So who's at the top of your list? Who's at the top of your list? Be honest with yourself right now. Who would be at the top? Don't try to show off and flex. Don't just try to be right. Just be honest. We're all equal. We're dealing with soul detox. We're no longer male and female in soul detox. We're no longer Jew and Gentile in soul detox. We're no longer mother, preacher. We are no longer CEO or entrepreneur. We are no respecter of person. We're just souls. We're just self. Who would have been the first person on your list? Me from now on. I know that's right. Karen says she done. Karen, hold on. You only got about 3 more minutes to put up with me here. Just hold on. Definitely at the bottom. Ari, I love you. I bless God for you. We're turning that list upside down. Wouldn't have even thought of myself. I would have skipped myself, but not after today. Probably at the bottom. I would have skipped it. This is really good. All right, Sharita. My kids would have been first. I would have never put myself first. My kids, my children at the top, boyfriend and kids, God, me, myself, and I, my mother, my children, my daughter, my children, my kids and grandson, my mom, my dad, God first. Lord have mercy. Somebody said, that was Karen that said, long have mercy. Lord have mercy. Somebody said, Karen, I almost said the same thing. Hold on, sis. My grandma would have been at the top. I would put myself last, says Mike Tate. My son would be first. I have put too many ahead of me. Go ahead and let them tears fall. Because those tears belong to God, because those tears are about you. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Father, I have neglected myself. I loved my neighbor, my grandmother, my mother, my children, my father. I love you. I put you on the list and I put them on the list, but I've neglected myself. And if I'm at the bottom of the list and my love for me is important for loving you and my neighbor. How can I love you and my neighbors? And neighbors include grandparents, father, children, your mom, God. Somebody said headache is coming. We're not going to do that. Goddaughters. I didn't even think to put myself on the list. I skipped myself. It's always been my kids. I'm always last. You are set free tonight, girl. My kids. Because I didn't value myself. How can I value any other earthly person? Before our sessions began, I probably wouldn't made the list. I would have said my family, husband, kids. I didn't think of myself. Didn't even think of me. God would have been first. I would have not listed my name in fear of not being humble. See, that's being nice. That statement right there is being nice. And now that we know we need to be kind, we're going to put ourselves on the list. Children, mom, I definitely would have been at the bottom. My husband, then me, and children. I probably would have not even thought to add myself. I have put too many before me, and I bet you it shows on your list. My son, my kids, my mom, prayer, my children, and my family. My kids, I never made the list. Grandchildren, I'm just going to take a second to go through this. My children for sure. Forgive me, Father, for neglecting myself. I put myself on top now. You're going to make me cry. Woo! That's why this year, she says, I'm being selfish. I feel that, woo, Jesus, Dominique, cut it out. I feel y'all through this line tonight. This is so encouraging. Never waste a perfectly good mistake. And now I got to put my name on the list of people who are important to me. I've been taught, listen to this, I've been taught to put myself last. The kids feel like redemption sometimes. I have a goal for this year to make it about me, and now I see why. I have to do better. It's like being on an airplane. You need to place the oxygen mask on yourself. Sometimes when I put myself on the list, I feel guilt. Woof. And how can we say that we love God? He even says that in the text. How can you say that you love me and your neighbor who sits right next to you, your brother or your sister? You don't even see them. You don't even care about them. You have no empathy for them. How can you love me and your brother or your sister who's right there with you, you don't even love? And you got it backwards. You're trying to love the world, and you're trying to love God, and you're trying to love your husbands and your kids and your mom, and you're trying to love your neighbor, but you cannot love any of them if you don't love yourself first. I know Christians are going to try to come at me and say, no, you love the Lord first. No, we are human beings. We're not just spiritual beings. And through our humanity, God wants worship. Through our humanity, God wants praise. He wants honor. He wants us to love us through our humanity. We don't lay our humanity aside and then I love you, Lord, by my spirit. That's like God, you know my heart type of love. Through my humanity, the earth moans and groans. You cannot love anything from an empty place. He wants our humanity. Let me finish this because we all done tonight. You are going to make a behavior this year to know that not only are you allowed to, you must put yourself first. So I want you to take a few minutes, if you haven't done so already, just make a quick list of all the important people in your life, the way you would have before I put the boom on you tonight. And then next to it, on the other side of that same sheet of paper, I want you now to rewrite the list and put yourself where you need to be on that list. Because when you put other people above yourself, that is when you have lived by their expectations instead of your own. When I put other people above me is when I lived by their expectations instead of my own. It's when I wanted their approval. It's when I wanted their permission. It's when I wanted their support that I put everyone above me first. It's not when I wanted it. It's when I needed it. Well, when I believed I needed it, and because I needed it, when I didn't get it, I didn't do the thing I wanted their permission to do. I know, Keisha, that's why I got to end, because I heard I've taken some of y'all way over too far. Let me see what the numbers are at. Okay, we still a little low, but we all right. It's like y'all came back. It's like it's 109 on here. So I think maybe 50 on Facebook and 59 on YouTube. Wow, wow, wow. This is a wake-up call. Come on. Love the Lord thy God and love your neighbor. Oh, and by the way, you love God and your neighbor by the way you love yourself. He even wrote in the book for us, people, you can tell how much a man loves himself by the way he treats his wife. So if a man doesn't have enough love for himself, he can't put a ring on your finger. Not the ring that Christ would want you to put on your finger. For a man to love you as Christ loved the church, that he was willing to die for her. If he doesn't love himself, he's not willing to die for you. This is too much. I'm done. Let me just finish this last line. Whew. Want to breathe? Come on, let's breathe. In your nose. Ready? Breathe out. Come on. One more time. Up your nose. Out. God breathed the breath of life into man and he became a living soul. Breathe up. Breathe out. Center yourself. I'm first on the list. See yourself as first on the list. I see the list in my mind. I'm first on the list. Oh my God, Brittany says she's done. If Brittany's done, I got to be done. The guilt is real. This is a clarion call for the authentic me. Joycey says, don't go. You're doing good. Hard pill to swallow. Can you imagine how hard it must be in our relationships to love people and we love them more than we love ourselves? Think about it for a minute. Imagine being on the other end of that type of love where somebody loves you. Because see, only God could do this. Only God can love in this way. We're not meant to love in this way. I'm sorry. Can you imagine being on the other side of someone who loves you so much they love you more than they love themselves? How hard is that to digress from that person? You might not understand, like, no, that's actually good. No, believe it or not, no one wants you to love them more than you love yourself. They may not even be able to express it, but there's something about your love that's off to them. It's controlling. It's needy. It's too focused on them. It's too them oriented versus we oriented. That's not the kind of love that humans can actually give. And when you have that love, Ashley, that is a self-aware love, you don't even realize whether the love is given back to you because you have so much love for yourself. You are amazed at the love people give back to you because you're not expecting it because you have so much love for yourself. Apostle, stop. I can't take no more tonight. And on that note, my babies, if I had been self-aware enough, imagine, let me post her, imagine my life would look like today if I had been self-aware enough to put myself first. When I believed I needed their love, and because I needed it, when I didn't get it, I didn't do the thing I wanted their permission to do. That means I didn't get what I wanted to get. All I got was frustration and annoyance and unhappiness. Why? It had nothing to do with them. Sons and daughters, it had nothing to do with them, because I didn't think it was okay to put myself first. You have no control over other people. So how can it be okay to put anybody else at the top of your list? You have no control over other people. So how can it be okay to put anybody else at the top of your list? Come on, let me do this in closing. I want you to just close your eyes for a minute. If you're not driving, if you're in that chair, that best seat in the house, and you're comfortable, you're listening to my voice, you're following the instructions as best you can, you're concentrating, understanding, remembering. And let me just say this one line to you. Just pull yourself together for a minute. Because I didn't think it was okay to put myself first, I have no control over other people. So how can it be okay to put anybody else at the top of my list? How can they be more important to you than you are to you? Father, I pray for your atoning blood to be upon us now to give us peace tonight. I come against any anxiety. I come against any backlash spirits. I come against any spirits or triggering psychological memories that would cause us to go into a hot processing, God, where we'll be overloaded and overflooded with triggers and memories. I pray that instead of processing all that has come across tonight in our mental health coaching session, that we would turn this around and be excited that I am now on the top of a list. I don't have to feel down and tearful and victimed and despondent, because I have now realized that I have wasted no mistake tonight. I would have repeated this over and over again had it not come tonight. So why should I be down? Tonight I learned a very valuable lesson, that I wasn't at the top of the list. And that's why my relationships were upside down. That my relationship with God was full of doubt, was full of 2 steps forward and 5 steps back, was based on people and church hurt, when my relationship with you should have come through a healthy place of love that I already have for myself, that comes from the Creator God. That loving anyone else in this family, anyone else that you've given me, even those that have birthed me or those I have given birth to, I have to love myself first. I am now allowed to put myself first. I have no control over other people. So how can it be okay for me to put anybody else at the top of my list? How can they be more important to me than I am to me? We end this session tonight, and I will continue to pray. Let the tears flow. Let them be healing waters. Let them be waters that say, I have a gift that was given to me tonight. I no longer have to make the same mistake over and over again. If I get nothing out of this 30 days of soul detox, on January 12th, the 11th soul detox day, I have course corrected my life. And at the top of my life, above my children and my parents and my spouse, I'm going to love myself so that I can in turn love my neighbor and love my God. Father, thank you for having me waste no mistake. And tonight, my life has been shifted into proper order, that I am now at the top of my list with no guilt, no condemnation, because not only am I allowed to put myself first, I must be first in my life in order to love and to care for all those that are loved and cared for out of me. Fill my vessel back up tonight, Father. Fill me with your precious love. Fill me with your precious Holy Spirit so that I can operate out of a fullness, the shalom of God, nothing lacking and nothing missing, so that all those that pull from this great fountain will pull from clean streams that already have loved itself full from the top. We thank you, Father, for the teaching and instruction on tonight and for the freedom to never waste a mistake again and the freedom to be at the top of our own list. I love you with the love of the Lord. I pray your strength in the Lord. I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prosper. God bless you. You know how to reach us if you need us. SuzanneMHoward.com. All of our details are there for any questions that you have. God bless you, and may the Lord watch over you. Until tomorrow at 8 p.m. Good night.
Let it